So Demi Lovato, this is a person I've talked about before on the show, someone that has decided to be gender fluid and pansexual and just is attracted to anything, really, is what she was saying before. So she's now coming out and saying that she identifies as they or them. She's not multiple people, by the way. That's just the way that she's wanted to identify now. Of course, this is something that she announced on Tuesday. Like I said, saying that she was changing her pronouns to they, them, and identifying as non-binary. Of course, what she's basically saying here is that she doesn't identify as male or female, but as this somewhat in between, this thing, something else that doesn't conform to the things that she actually is, by the way. So what she's going on through with this entire situation is ridiculous. We know that, but let's go into what she's actually saying. I'm going to refer to her as she because that's what it is. So I'm not going to play into this little fantasy game, but let's go ahead and get into what she's saying. So she said in a statement that this new identification best represents the fluidity I feel in my gender expression and allows me to feel most authentic and true to the person I both know I am and am still discovering. So you already can kind of see the ridiculousness in what she's saying there, because how can you both know what you are and yet also be discovering still what you are? It really sounds like you don't know who you are at all. That's really what that is. So she posted on Twitter saying, "Today is the day. I'm so happy to share more of my life with you all. I am proud to let you know that I identify as non-binary and will officially be changing my pronouns to they, them moving forward. This has come after a lot of healing, self-reflective work. I'm still learning and coming into myself, and I don't blame or claim to be an expert or a spokesperson. Sharing this with you now opens another level of vulnerability for me," she continued. "I'm doing this for those out there that haven't been able to share who they truly are with their loved ones. Please keep living in your truths and know I am sending so much love your way." Now keep in mind, in case you didn't realize, she's saying your truth, not the truth, your truth. And the left-wing people always do this, but I wonder sometimes, do they really hear themselves? I mean, can you really pay attention to what you're saying there? You're literally saying it's a lie. That's what it is. I mean, if it was the truth, then why wouldn't they just say the truth? They're openly admitting that they're lying to themselves. That's what they're doing. Now, keep in mind that by pronouns by themselves, when you're talking about her wanting to identify as they, them, pronouns are, in essence, a selfish idea. And the reason why is because why would anybody need to tell you their pronouns if they didn't have the intention from the very beginning for you or for anyone else to call them by that pronoun? This is what this is about. It's affirm me, affirm the things that I believe about myself. That's what this is about. So by nature, it is automatically a self-centered affirmation that you're seeking from other people, because a pronoun wouldn't be for yourself. I mean, how much fun is a pronoun if other people don't really refer to you that way, in the way that you want them to do so? So she said in another statement, "I'm done living other people's truths. I'm here to tell you that I'm going to live mine no matter what you think of it because it feels right to me." That one statement is everything wrong with the society that we live in today. Because you have her and a bunch of other people out there that believe, oh, my feelings are the most important thing in my life. When in reality, anybody with common sense knows that anyone that lives their life based off of what they want to do all the time is a horrible person. Because they're criminals, they're people that are just tough to be around, they're people that you don't like, they're just not good people. Because we're not meant to be living out our feelings no matter what. By nature, there is a moral law. There's things that we know that we shouldn't do, even though we feel like we want to do them. But yet, they're saying the exact opposite of that. So once again, if you only cared about yourself, if you only cared about the things that you believed in for yourself, why do you need to make an announcement about it? Because it's about other people. What she's really saying is, I want other people to affirm me and what I believe in. So if you, for example, saw Demi Lovato in a concert and you're talking to somebody saying, "Hey, I just saw Demi Lovato. They were really good." Well, that person's probably going to look at you if they didn't know who Demi Lovato was and think that you were talking about a band or a group of people. When in reality, you're referring to a singular person, one person. Because the they that you're using there doesn't make any sense grammatically. That's not how the English language works. What she's really trying to say in all of this stuff really is, I'm more complex than you are. I'm so complicated, and there's so many things to me that I can't even use the regular words that we have lined out in the English language for hundreds of years. I can't use those to describe myself. So I need to use something else, and I'm so much more complex than you are and so much more important than you are that you cannot define me. It's a plea for attention. It's a plea for people to look at themselves, or to really just a self-centered way of looking at things, so that they can say that her identity transcends everything that we know to be the case today. To look special when you're nothing but. That's what this is about. So here's the thing. She's free to play word games all day long. I don't care. The fact is that anybody is free to do that because we live in a free country. The problem is where they're wanting us to play along with this fantasy of theirs. That's where the problem really lies, is it not? Because what we're seeing here is that it's not about them saying, I identify as that. I mean, I don't care if my neighbor across the way decides to identify as a watermelon. Okay, I mean, I think it's kind of weird. You know, you want to identify as a watermelon. That's completely on you. But hey, don't expect me to start calling you a watermelon to your face. That's not what's going to happen. You're not going to make me do that. And the same situation applies here. I'm not going into the situation to affirm what it is that you believe, because that doesn't make sense grammatically, and it's simply not true. Oftentimes when we talked about the transsexual ideologies and other things like that, people oftentimes brought up people that are schizophrenic. In every medical journal that we know today, if somebody is schizophrenic and they believe that they are seeing their dead grandmother or something like that, you don't, and no medical professional would ever just say, okay, let's pretend like they do see them. Every time and every treatment shows that you bring them back to reality. You bring them back to reality. You bring them back to reality. You don't let them live out every single one of their visions or beliefs that are consistent with the schizophrenia. That's not how this works. But yet, for some reason, we live in a society now where it doesn't even have to necessarily be a mental illness, but they just go into this saying, I'm they, I'm them, and people must now affirm those actions. And if you don't, you're going to get canceled. Or they'll just call you racist or sexist or some other crazy terminology that they always like to use. The fact is that I'm fine with leaving people alone to their own stuff like this. Leave them alone. That's fine. I mean, we've heard the statement, you do you, right? But that statement comes with this connotation that you're not going to make me do you. You're not going to make me have to do the stuff that you're going along with for yourself. If we hear something crazy about someone around us, like I said, like the guy that identifies as a watermelon, it doesn't really matter to us. It shouldn't matter to us unless they're trying to have us play along with their fantasy, which should not happen. But at the same time, a pronoun is a grammatical construct. It's not something that you can just change to fit your narrative. It's not a pet. It's not an item of clothing or some fashion piece that you can wear and take off and change at any given point in time just because you feel like it, depending on where the wind is blowing. It is a set in stone thing that is not movable. Language is used to convey meaning. Every time when we speak to somebody, when we say something, there's a purpose behind the words that we use, and there's a reason why we use those words so that we can convey an accurate message as to what we're actually trying to convey to someone. You take away language, you take away the meaning in language, because all of a sudden, what words used to mean no longer mean those things. We don't get our own adjectives and all these other things that we get to add on top of what we are and who we are and what we do, because otherwise it would just make the English language absolutely useless. As for pronouns like they, let's take an example here for a second, and let's just assume that I'm making the statement, or you're making the statement saying, look, someone left their phone here. I hope they come and pick it up. Okay, notice what I'm saying there. I'm using the word there. Now, we know that multiple people don't own that phone because the use of the pronoun they or there is oftentimes used for, first of all, multiple people, but also an unknown person, someone where we don't know if they are a he or a she. So we use they or there to represent that. Now, what wouldn't make sense if you made the statement saying, look, I found William's phone over there. And then you say, I hope they come and pick it up. That wouldn't make sense, right? Or you wouldn't say, look, William left their phone. Why wouldn't you say that? Because you know that I am, first of all, a singular person. You know that I'm a male. You know who I am. So you don't need to use they or there to represent what I am, or who I am. And that's why it doesn't make sense to do this type of stuff. It just confuses everything. To bend everything to their own will and their own devices for any given point in time, and it doesn't work. You fail to convey proper meaning when you take away those things. The fact is that language matters. The thing also is that we cannot have a society without language. And the fact is that truth matters. And we can also not have a society without truth. Those things have to exist. So when we see an attack on our language and we see an attack on truth, the only inevitable outcome of that is we see that they are attacking our society, and it shouldn't be tolerated no matter what. You just watched a clip from The William Hall Show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.